banners. Counting down. Oh, crap. 10 o'clock. Counting down. All right, so actually, Insta2, Instagram, copy, go live. Okay. Back to StreamYard.
Y'all stop.
Those who don't know, my name is Doug, and I have a lot of interests. One of those is the tarot. And tonight we're going to go over a little bit of the major arcana. Now, to me, the major arcana and divine arcana are two completely separate things. They were eventually put together, but they weren't intended to be that way. The major arcana has a lot of wisdom beyond the use of divination for the cards. It is a pathway to self-development and to greater understanding of how we work both internally and externally, how the universe works, how the world works, and how we work as humans. The same wisdom is found in the Kabbalah, and that shaking that you see is JoJo trying to run the camera. Hey, buddy. Anyway, we're going to play with some interesting concepts tonight, and I'm going to give away a bunch of stuff. I can this week. I have a lot of things that I want to pass on to you guys. Some beliefs are that the tarot should be given to someone. You shouldn't buy it. Well, we're not all that lucky. I was given mine. I bought some. I don't really subscribe to that very much, but for those who do, tonight is your chance. I'm giving away 5 tarot decks minimum and a whole bunch of stickers and some other stuff. So if you want those, talk, let me know. Let me know you're here at least, and I'll figure out how I'm going to process who gets what. But if you're interested in the tarot, you just want to hang out on a Friday night for a little while, it's a good time for it. So let's get started. I'm going to fire the computer up a little bit better, and we'll see where we go from here. Again, and this would probably be number one. Now, this should just be called the Waite Smith deck. Ryder was the publishing house that created it. And for a lot of years, it was just the Ryder Waite deck. Arthur Waite basically came up with the symbolism on this deck. This deck is designed for a specific purpose in mind. It is not just for divination, it also houses a whole lot of information on the Kabbalah and on the initiatory process of the Golden Dawn itself. But the person that illustrated this was Pamela Coleman Smith. She was a brilliant is basically the prototype for most modern decks you're going to deal with. I talked about this a little bit last week in the mention of the four most influential decks in the last couple hundred years, and this would probably be number one. Now, this should just be called the Waite Smith deck. Ryder was the publishing house that created it, and for a lot of years, it was just the Ryder Waite deck. Arthur Waite basically came up with the symbolism on this deck. This deck is designed for a specific purpose in mind. It is not just for divination, it also houses a whole lot of information on the Kabbalah and on the initiatory process of the Golden Dawn itself. But the person that illustrated this was Pamela Coleman Smith. She was a brilliant artist. I think she's beautiful. I'm just fascinated by this character. She hung out with people like Bram Stoker and Yeats and all kinds of artists and bohemian intellectuals, which is the kind of people that just fascinate me. I'll do an entire video on her story, but for now, the important thing to know is that she illustrated the deck and she hardly got any credit at all for it until maybe the last 30 years or so. She was a member of the Golden Dawn. And just like in the other decks that we talked about, you always have the masculine and feminine influence in the creation of the deck. The feminine from this deck came from Pamela Coleman Smith, or Pixie as she was known. We're going to start our discussion with the Fool card. Now, this card is number 0 in the deck. You can think about this as not 0 as nothing, but 0 as in the way a mathematician would look at it, as the potential to be anything. Before this deck, the Fool usually didn't have a number. Waite was the person who was credited with giving the Fool card the number 0. And again, part of what the Golden Dawn did is they brought back the deeper meanings of the tarot to where it fit into a system of philosophy and, as a greater understanding, a roadmap to who we are. It had fallen away from that for a few years, but they sort of brought back some of the older meanings to it. And when they created this deck, they made the Fool card a 0 as opposed to not having a number at all. Now, because of the nature of the pathway that we're looking at here, the Fool card can also be thought of as number 22 in the deck. So it can be 0 and 22. You'll see what I'm talking about a little bit more as we go through this. One way to think of the Fool card is unmanifested potential. As the archetypical eternal wanderer, you can think of the Fool card as traveling and gathering knowledge and information and learning and attempting to manifest potential. Not knowing what's even possible, but as he explores the world more, learning more and more about what's out there, who's out there, and what there is in general. Now, let's take a look a little deeper into the card and some of the symbolism on it. He always has his dog, and the dog, of course, is a faithful companion, but you can think of it as instinctive guidance. Basically, the dog represents a symbol of intuition, and like he's wandering around without any real knowledge of what's happening, just on a hunch. Speaking of animals, that was my cat Jojo, as usual, trying to be a part of this. Now let's look at the cliff. Notice in the card that he is walking toward the cliff, not even looking at it, not even paying attention. Now, in our case, that's representative of trust in the process. He's moving forward without worry, without concern, because he doesn't know what the possibilities are, for good or for bad. His head's in the cloud, he's moving forward, but he's also working on transformation, building a better version. And sometimes that comes with, how do I say it? Sometimes it takes a little pain, a little suffering for you to transform and become that better person. But he's heading into whatever it is he faces without worry, with complete abandon, trusting his intuition, and just moving forward. Now, the Fool's Bag. When I talk about the Fool's Journey, I mention that inside the bag is everything he needs to complete the journey. He just doesn't know how to use the tools yet. And that's kind of accurate on this, I think. The Fool's Bag contains the bare necessities he needs to make it through life. It contains tools, it contains the elements, it contains every bit of the building blocks that he really needs to make whatever it is he's trying to make happen. He just doesn't know how to use them yet. Now, it also represents a minimalist nature. The freedom and detachment, the ability to focus on personal growth, gathering knowledge, having life experiences, and discovery of self, figuring out who you are. There's JoJo again. Now, it's important to realize that every card in the tarot is symbolic of one of the paths of the Kabbalah. There are 22 paths into the Kabbalah, and there are 22 cards in the tarot. in the major arcana, which is all we're talking about today. I'm going to use the English names for the Sephira to make it easier to understand, and the Fool card pathway goes from Crown to Wisdom. It's initiating the journey from pure potential to wisdom and creative expression. There are a couple of ways to look at this, and we'll get into the bigger picture of this later on. But each of the cards in the first part of the major arcana are also representative of the different grades of the Golden Dawn system, what level a member was on, so to speak. And for the Fool, that is representative of the Neophyte grade. Okay, let's try this again. Can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, type something. Let me know you're out there. All right, cool. I may have been trying to stream in too many different places. I had a whole lot of different stuff going, so we'll see how this works. All right, good deal. Hey, and everybody's here. All right, so quick question. Who can remember my cat's name? Anybody? Cat? You don't count, Becky. Everybody else, I'm asking for a reason. JoJo, that's right. So, okay, we're going to do our first giveaway. Yay. You're a little late, Tim. To be clear, just because I'm giving you this doesn't mean I. So, this one, Terror of Forbidden Dreams, right? You see this? Yeah. I'm sure this is going to be a fun deck for somebody. Not really my personal style. But anyway, Terror. So let me see who. Let me go back through this. And yep, that one's yours, Kim. Kind of a good fit. But don't worry, we got more of these suckers to go. All right. So where we left off on that was talking about the way the Kabbalah works in with the tarot. And the tarot for years and years and years has been abused, in my opinion, because it's not just a way to quote tell fortunes. It is a spiritual pathway. Yes, you can use it to tell fortunes with. You can use it for divination. Wait, I said you're 3 times. You lost me, Sandy. But anyway, there's more to it, and it really annoys me when I go onto a group and instantly somebody's hitting you up trying to do a reading, trying to do a reading, trying to do a reading. You know, that's one of those things where it's just annoying as crap. The tarot's more than that, and I'll preach on that some more. But let's go a little bit more through here and get into our next card. I'm having to adjust some things to make this work, so y'all bear with me. I'm still playing with the system and making it work out. But let's go a little further. The Magician's probably the most well-known card from the Rider-Waite deck. Just about everybody's seen that image. We talked a little bit about it last week, and we'll go into a little bit more detail right now, but not too heavy on these next 2 cards. I just want to give you an outline of something. Now, you can think of the Magician as manifestation and power, the ability to bring things from the ethereal into the physical. Creation, mastery over the elements, earth, air, water, and fire. If you notice, those elements are represented with the tools on the table. The cup represents water, the sword represents air, the pinnacle represents earth, the water represents fire. And Wookie and the kitty seem to be getting into it back here, so if y'all excuse the background. Now, notice the red and white roses. There are a couple ways to interpret those. One is as desire and purity, which symbolizes the magician's ability to balance opposing forces. In some traditions, those white roses also represent an oath of secrecy. Notice that the magician in the picture has one hand pointed toward the sky and one pointed toward the earth. That represents the Hermetic principle of as above, so below. Now, that doesn't mean the divine and the infernal mirror each other. It has nothing to do with that. What that means is what happens in the microcosm happens in the macrocosm. Like, for instance, when you look at a solar system, and it looks a lot like an atom. The microcosm and the macrocosm are basically mirrors. What works on a huge scale works on a small scale, and vice versa. And again, some of the more mystical meaning behind the magician is conscious willpower, manifestation and transformation, and alchemy. The ability to change things from one state to another. As you expect, it also has a path on the Kabbalah. And it goes from crown to understanding, the second path on the tree of life. You can think of the magician as pure manifestation of will. So we talked about him a lot last week through that. So we're not going to get too deep into that. But the concept of the magician is one that's just an internal archetype. It's in everything. If you notice that same pose, I know you've probably all seen the picture of Crowley working with that, as above, so below. What you're looking at there is actually a ritual that was part of the Golden Dawn, and a pretty decent one at that. That was one of the initiation rituals. All right, so the internet's acting a little weird again. So let's give away something else, right? Let me take a look and see what I got stashed around here. I know there's something good. Dun, 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 dun. Play. Seriously. All right. So JoJo, come here, buddy. All right. So JoJo, come here, buddy. Come here. What do you think of this? Right? Yes, no, maybe. Again, man, I don't really care for cats on tarot decks, but this is a mini deck, right? It is the Book of Pagan Cats. Yeah, I don't know how folks to see. Officially approved by JoJo. You saw that, right? So that one's going out too. So let's see how I do this. Everybody pick a color. It is cat approved. It is JoJo approved. I'm still waiting for somebody to hit this color. Boom, purple. All right, Stephanie, you got this one. So, Sandy, you got it, but you're a little bit late. Stephanie hit it first. So, Stephanie, message me your info and how I can get this to you. I know how to get to Kim. All right, so while we're at it, let's do one more. I got a Rider Waite deck here. So let's see, how shall I do this? I'm going to go here. Oh, I know exactly how to do this. This is going to be fun, right? All right, so this will be, I'm going to make this easy, right? So everybody pick a card from the major arcana. I'm frozen on there. I need to fix that. Let's put this back up on the stage because it looks better. There. Okay.
You need to tell them also, baby, two people can't win the same thing.
Yeah, well, obviously. Becky reminded me to remind you guys that only one winner per thing here. All right, I'm waiting. Somebody's got to get this. Boom, Lori. Justice it is. All right, so Lori messaged me, remind me you got this. So everybody hit something, hit me up and give me your contact info in case I don't have it. So we're going to get back into your comments have all disappeared. That's not good. All right, so we're going to get back into this for a little bit. So let me swap over to this because I'm having to move stuff around through here. Everybody's getting something before they get out of here. I promise you. Everybody's going to leave with something. All right, so let me get back over here and find what I need. I've talked a lot about the high priestess. Yep, that's card. This one right here. So we're going to bring in. I've talked a lot about the high priestess card, and with good reason. That is the most obvious card showing the influence of the Kabbalah in this particular deck. You would have Boaz and Joaquin, the two pillars, on each side. Back behind, you see the pomegranates behind her head. Those are the Sephirah of the Kabbalah. And she is in the spot representing the middle path. The moon below represents feminine energy, but she's more the middle pillar. There's a lot of ways to interpret her, but she is blatantly telling us that there is more to this deck than meets the eye. And this kind of thing is one of the reasons why I much prefer decks like this as opposed to the newer tarot decks. Some of them are beautiful, some of them are fun, but you don't have the more hidden meanings behind a lot of the cards. The people who create them generally leave that out. I don't know why. So let's look at some of the symbolism in this card. We talked about Boaz and Hakeem. We talked about the Sephirah in the background represented as pomegranates. That's also a veil. And that represents the veil between conscious and subconscious, between the things that we know in our mind that we can sort out and the things that we just understand natively. It's different realms of existence and experience and thought, and she can transform between those two at will. Notice the scroll she's holding? That represents hidden knowledge, deep secrets, even the Akashic records that contain all the mysteries of the universe. Now, here's the most subtle one, but maybe the most important. Notice that the way her arms are kind of crossed create a triangle with her head in the upper part of her body. Well, that represents something too. Together, the High Priestess, the Magician, and the Fool card represent the divine triangle on Kabbalah. The pathway of the High Priestess actually goes from crown to beauty, which makes this concept a little bit confusing because the Empress card is the card that connects between wisdom and understanding. That's her pathway. All of this will make more sense when we're done with it, but for now, the important thing I want you guys to get is that those first three cards are representative of the divine triangle on the Kabbalah tree of life. And what it basically represents and means, to break it down, these three cards connect us with higher realms of consciousness. It's the beginning of a spiritual journey where we begin to understand ourselves and why we are here, why we exist. It is a connection between us, our higher conscious levels, and the divine. What we're talking about is the beginning of a journey into spiritual evolution, internal alchemy. So, this is the whole thing that I've been working on for so long, is to try to find a way to find a path that makes sense for me. Like most of you guys, I have explored a whole lot of different spiritual concepts, and then I figured out that actually the majority of them are connected. The tarot takes us down a pathway to where you eventually learn that, and that you learn that there are higher ideas than what we're generally taught. Whatever pathway you're following, uh, you're probably going to start off with the whole milk and meat concept where you don't really understand what's going on. You just go down the pathway, and then as you go along, the pathway opens up and you understand. And it's just kind of a roadmap. So as we go further into the tarot on this series, I'm going to try as I can to make it make sense the way I understand it, and make it a little easier. So, what do you guys think so far? Has this made sense in any shape, form, or fashion? You guys get anything out of this? Yeah, I think it's a little different view than most people get on the tarot. I'm ending that counting down banner. It's annoying me. There. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So, this is mostly going to be the end of tonight's, but we still got a couple things to give away, right? So, let's see. I've got a whole bunch of sticker packs. So, I should have enough for everybody on here right now, at least to get a sticker pack. Let me check the other before I say that. Got to check Twitch and Instagram for those. So, um, yeah. So everybody that wants a sticker pack, I got these packs that I got for everybody, and it is just filled with cool tarot stickers. And let me ask you a question: is there anybody in here who doesn't have a tarot deck? Anybody at all? Okay, Retha, you got two. Tim, you do now. So I'm going to give you a Rider Waite deck. So that's the last one of these we've got. Hit me up and we'll figure out how to get together. I need to see you anyway. It's been a long time. You should go to a meditation class next time I have one. So next Wednesday night is going to go back to the heart chakra, and we're working on finishing that up. And next Friday night, I'm probably going to do yes. Next Friday night, what I'm going to do is basically a recap of everything and set up to go live because it is the grandbaby's birthday weekend, so I won't be around Friday. I may do something on Thursday a little bit, and I'm going to drop you guys some more meditations this week. Yes, Ken, meditation was awesome, and you did a fantastic job on that, by the way. And everybody sent her some congratulations. I'm not going to say for what, that's on her to mention, but she's leveled up. And I appreciate every one of you guys. Message the page or message me, and I'll get your stuff to you. And everybody remember, everybody on here, man, I got these cool sticker packs. Just message, I'll get them to you. And everybody message me, and we'll sort out how to get your stuff to you. So, you guys have a good Friday. And I really appreciate, I'm honestly incredibly grateful for every single one of you who stopped in tonight. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. As has been mentioned, we're building a table here for everybody. And I hope you guys join us. Good night, all.